The 2025 Major League Baseball season is off and running, and across all 30 Major League teams, storylines are emerging. Surprises, struggles, breakouts, and early warning signs. They're all there. And now that we're a month into the season, it's time to start connecting some of these dots and see what stories are being written about each and every team across Major League Baseball in this 2025 campaign. Welcome to the Early Observation Series here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast. Let's get into it. As we continue our series looking at an early observation, we look now to the Kansas City Royals. And one of the interesting things that has popped up for this kingdom is that there is no power. Now, when you look at this Kansas City Royals team in 2025, they are a well-rounded ball club. They have some good pitching, some timely hitting, and they have one of the best superstars in the game in Bobby Witt Jr. There's no doubt about it that there's a lot to like about this team. But the alarming fact and the early observation is there is no power with this team. Let's get into it. When you look at this team in 2025, the Kansas City Royals have some positives to look at. When it comes to extra base hits of the doubles and triples variety, they find themselves sitting in 7th and 4th place at the time of this video, respectively. But when you look at the overwhelming power of home runs, they find themselves at the bottom. At the time of this video, the Kansas City Royals are in last place in the major leagues when it comes to home runs. Now, yes, we know that Kauffman Stadium can sometimes play as a much larger park, which would lend itself to why the Royals are finding themselves in that upper echelon in terms of doubles and triples and not so much in home runs. But they find themselves having less home runs than one of the teams that we've discussed a couple of times on this channel, at least as far as one of the worst teams in baseball, in that of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're the second worst team when it comes to overall home runs. Kansas City finds themselves 4 less than that. Now, it isn't just the home runs as a whole, but when you look at some of the underlying numbers according to StatCast for this Kansas City Royals team, it is a genuine concern about the lack of power for this squad. When you look at the fact that the percentage of barrels is 6.5 for the entire season, only one team is worse than them. When you look at the fact of overall barrels, and for those that may not know, barrels are a hit of 95 miles per hour or better within a certain launch angle that typically result in positive hits for the team that hits them. The Royals find themselves with just 93 as a whole, which is 4th worst in Major League Baseball. Only the Brewers, Padres, and Rays have less barrels to this point in the season than that of the Kansas City Royals. The barrel percentage of 6.5 is just behind the Milwaukee Brewers, who have the number 1 spot, or the number 30 spot, if you will, when it comes to barrel percentage at 6.1. Obviously, this is a team that has some talented players on there. They have some players that are going to be looked at in this next upcoming decade as some of the best in baseball. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. is a superstar like very few others. But you have quality caliber players in guys like Vinny Pasquantino, Jonathan India, amongst others that could be looked at in this next coming generation as some of the best in the game. We already have one of the most legendary players, in my opinion, in Sal Perez on this team, the last hangover from the 2015 World Champion Kansas City Royals, ushering in this new generation of Royals players. We saw what they were capable of doing in the run they made to get to the postseason in 2024, and I think this team is built to be able to go back to the postseason this year. Yes, it is much stiffer competition in that American League Central this year than what we've seen over the last half decade, but no doubt about it, Kansas City has some players that are going to be capable of helping push them to that next upper echelon. Now, obviously, when you're not in today's day and age, it's a game of power. power pitching, power hitting. And if you're not going to be able to hit with the power teams like the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, and so on, you're going to have to find other ways to win. Now, as I said at the top of this video, there are opportunities for the Royals to be able to produce those extra base hits. The doubles and triples, they find themselves within the top 7 in both of those categories. And that is going to play a positive role for this team because they do have some speed and some dynamic players that can make their impact in that way. But we know that today's day and age, it's all about strikeouts, walks, and home runs, the 3 true outcomes. And for the Royals, they find themselves at the bottom of the home run game. When we look at some of the other statistics around baseball that deal with some of the underlying numbers, the Royals find themselves in 5th place in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and expected weighted on base. Now, what that all means to say for those that may not understand the advanced analytics is that the Royals are getting on base at the 5th worst in Major League Baseball. So if you're not getting on base, you're not going to be able to use the speed that is there for one of the assets of your team. If you're not getting the extra base hits, which is what the slugging percentage is, you're not going to be able to drive in a ton of runs. And when you put that all together and you get to the weighted on base, both of these things are what combine into that. There's no doubt about it, the Royals have some talented players on their squad. But if they aren't able to start lifting and separating and launching balls, as we know that this game is lending itself to be right now a home run heavy game, the Royals are going to find themselves in a situation where they're going to be looking at a deficit instead of being one of the teams that are looked at as the upper echelon in the sport. Yes, the wild card is extended. There are more teams in that battle. And the American League Central, as I said, is going to be heavily featured, in my opinion, when it comes to the American League postseason playoff picture. And Kansas City has an opportunity to be there, but they're going to have to find more power if they really want to put themselves in a positive position. But I want to hear from you, baseball fans. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings down in the comment section below. Kansas City Royals fans, how are you feeling about the overall lack of power from your team? Yes, as I said, there are different players that are going to be able to produce. They're going to have an opportunity to be aggressive in the trade market come the deadline, to be able to augment and maybe help facilitate some more power in that lineup. But as of right now, looking at the way that your team is playing, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. It's arguably the toughest division in baseball right now. Them in the National League West, they're kind of head to head and neck when it comes to being the toughest division in baseball right now. So there's a lot of time still left to go, but I want to hear from you. Baseball fans, if we haven't gotten to your team yet, let me know some early observations that you're checking out as well and noticing for your squad down in the comment section below. If you're following us here on this YouTube channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already and the bell for post notifications, as it truly does help us continue to grow this channel. As always, in our description below of this video, there's our Linktree link that has all the pertinent details to our merchandise store, our sponsor links, social platforms, and audio platforms. And by following us there, purchasing some merchandise, it does help the channel continue to grow and to build out, to be able to bring you content like this each and every single week. We want to thank you for joining us. Make sure you check us out Wednesday night for the Pinstripe Plunge Report, our weekly special podcast live stream that focuses in on the New York Yankees, but also dabbles in the world of Major League Baseball outside of the Bronx. And I want to thank you for joining me once again, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.